Hey everybody, welcome to The Commit, episode 17. I'm Neil.
I'm Richard. Welcome to our new set.
It is a pretty nice new set.
We got a table.
So today we want to talk a little bit about non-traditional hackathons. I think a lot of hackathons that people go to tend to be college hackathons, or maybe a company hackathon, or maybe just something you organize with your friends, like say a game jam. But we got this one hackathon that came in a couple days ago, the Internet of Cows hackathon.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because there's a really high potential to create a big impact for a lot of people, maybe outside the US, outside of an entire area that you're familiar with.
Totally. So I think that this falls into a category of hackathons that are actually problem-centric, whereas most hackathons we would say are like opportunities, right?
Right, where you have the opportunity to say, use an API and build whatever you want, instead of maybe here's a very particular problem, but approach it from any angle that you can.
Yeah, totally. And so hackathons that sound kind of a bit funny at the first, right? Like the Internet of Cows. When you dig into it, there's actually some really interesting data and some really interesting problems to find that people can work on. And I think the fish hackathon is a great example. But also from the college audience, Hack Duke, which is taking place this weekend, is a fantastic example of a hackathon where they took this hacking for good concept and really then partnered with local organizations to get great problem statements for people to work on.
So if you see something come up and you see an opportunity to take advantage of one of these hackathons, go for it. You don't need to build another Tinder clone, but maybe you can build something that's going to help a farmer in rural America.
Totally. That's awesome. So this week we got an interview with Caitlin from Defhacks that we talked a bit about next week. You want to check that out?
Yeah, let's cut to it.
Caitlin, welcome to The Commit.
Thank you for having me.
So I met Caitlin at Defhacks, and we mentioned this on last week's show, but I wanted you to get a chance to meet her too. So Caitlin, meet the Commit viewers, meet Caitlin.
Nice to meet you guys.
So why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself and what you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm a Stuyvesant senior, and I am the founder and head organizer of Defhacks, which is a high school hackathon here in New York.
So throwing hackathons is a lot of work. What made you want to do that?
That's a good question. I went to a lot of hackathons previously, and while I was sitting on my computer, just like eating, people were running around frantically doing things, and I was like, that looks fun. It looks stressful, but fun. And I wanted to get into that too, so I was like, why not start my own hackathon?
That's cool. And what I loved about your hackathon was that there was such a range of people taking part. Everyone from beginners to people that were building some pretty sophisticated projects. How did you get that breadth of experience levels?
Yeah, so all of our advertising was done on Facebook primarily. So I posted on my wall, I posted in Stuyvesant groups, I posted in hacker groups I had, and we just wanted to make sure that there were coders of all different levels. So we were like, if you have friends who don't know how to code and want to learn, just bring them here, bring them to us.
That's awesome. And then, so what did you do to cater for the people who maybe didn't know very much?
Yeah, so we had a couple workshops from some of our sponsors, and we had a Flask one from the coding space, and HTML and CSS from New York Code and Design Academy, and it was just
cool.
Basic fundamental skills that they should know.
Oh, nice, excellent. And any favorite projects from Defhacks yourself?
Yeah, so this was the Stuyvesant team, so no bias. But there's this app called Picky where you got to choose what restaurant you wanted to go to.
Oh, I remember these. And it's like a negative selection, right? You tell it the food that you don't want to eat, and then it rounds down to options for you.
Yeah, it was really well designed. It was really beautiful to look at, and it was just a very simple app. And I was really impressed that they made that all in 24 hours.
Yeah, totally. That was a really cool project. I love some of the games from
the games were pretty impressive.
So that was fun. So what's your background in programming? How did you get involved in coding?
Yeah, so we have to take computer science at Stuyvesant. And so I started learning with Dr. Racket, NetLogo, and I realized that I can't use these outside of Stuyvesant.
Right.
Yeah, I had to learn something else. And so my dad found Girls Who Code as a program for me to learn coding, and he was like, okay, Caitlin, we want you to do something during your summer. How about you learn computer science, because it would be kind of helpful. And I was like, sure, Dad, I'll apply for this. I'll appease you for once. And I spent 7 weeks coding, meeting a lot of girls, and I just realized that I wanted to be a computer scientist.
That's awesome. Great work, Dad.
Yeah, thank you, Dad.
That's cool. So then you ended up in the Built by Girls program.
Yeah.
You ended up at AOL, and you've done so many amazing things.
Yeah, it was really cool because Girls Who Code actually partnered with Built by Girls, and they took 5 Girls Who Code alumni and they let them redesign one of the AOL sites that people actually visit. Actually.
Wow.
So I got to do some front-end web development on cambio.com, and it was really cool because besides coding, we also got to visit companies and talk to professional people.
That's
it was
fun.
generally an awesome summer.
Sounds like a cool program. And it's like one of the things we were saying before we started filming is like there's nothing more rewarding than building something and then having people use it, right? So that's really cool. So you're about to graduate. Like, what's next for you? College applications right now?
College applications. Just submitted my early application to MIT, so waiting on that, but I have to apply to other colleges. And then in the meantime, we're going to be trying to find some underclassmen to run Defhacks in the future, because we want to have it run even when I'm at college.
That's really cool. So final question from my side. Like, what's the best advice that you've ever received about development?
Yeah, so my comp sci teacher at Stuyvesant has this thing where if you don't know what's wrong with your code, you talk to a teddy bear in his classroom, and it actually works. You explain all your code to it, and it listens, and then it watches you as you come to a realization that it was that specific line of code that was wrong. And then, obviously, if you don't figure out yourself, you go talk to a person.
That's awesome. I just ask Neil whenever I get stuck.
Foolproof plan.
Well, thanks for coming on, Caitlin.
Thanks for having me.
Neil, back to you.
All right, folks, welcome back. It's time for staff picks. This week, I picked the dry erase plotter, which was from Boston Hacks. Basically, this team came up with a whiteboard and controlled it with 2 servo motors, and the servo motors are connected with fishing line to a little panel that holds a dry erase marker, and using the Market on Demand API, they can sort of draw financial information.
This is such a cool project.
Yeah, or using the Capital One API, they can sort of draw information about your personal balance, which in my case would be pretty much just a flat line right about here. Okay, I guess I'm done. Richard, do you have something you wanted to talk about?
Oh, sorry. So my staff pick is CubeBot. And why did I pick it? I pick it because I can't work this out and it's driving me crazy. CubeBot combines some Arduinos. I think the code is written in C and Python. And actually look at this video. So it's a Rubik's Cube solver. We've seen that hack before, but I love this version. All kind of mapped out for you. Really cool project.
And the part you don't see in it, because it's on the bottom side, is there's actually a camera that's looking at the face of the cube and analyzing whether or not it's, I guess it tracks like either like the little spots that have gone by or how many faces are complete. So pretty neat stuff.
Yeah, awesome project. Big props for that. Great demo as well.
Cool, so that's all we got for this week. If you're going to Yale Hack this weekend, I will be there, so come say hi to me. And otherwise, we'll see you next week on The Commit. Happy hacking.
Happy hacking.